Here at Blockbuster, we strive for customer satisfaction. And remember, the first rule of Blockbuster is nobody talks about Blockbuster.
Raven?
What?
You're inside of a Walmart. The Blockbuster in your area closed down years ago. Remember? Raven? Step away from the bargain bin.
No, you! If I say Blockbuster in 2019, I'll most likely get one of the following responses. Blockbuster? Those were some good times. Hey, remember Nokia phones? Blockbuster, wasn't that like a video store for old people? Hey, do you guys remember Peppa Pig? Yes, the two great divides, the old and new millennial. Most kids born after 2010 won't know the joys of Friday night family fun nights where you drive over to Pizza Hut, then check out your local rental shop and rent out some games and movies. We ain't talking about your grandma's bargain bin. Blockbuster was the leading video rental service, dominating competitors since the late 80s all the way into the early 2000s. Everyone recognized that blue ticket stub logo, and as kids, my sisters and I would always be excited hearing that we'd be driving out to rent movies and games. In my area, we had Blockbuster, Rogers Video. I even remember the less popular Jumbo Video with the little elephant on the logo. All you gotta do is pay for a membership card, and just like a library, you could rent out a handful of videotapes, DVDs, and video games, and have a grand old time on a Friday night. Not only could you rent, but you could also buy DVDs and games, with new releases guaranteed in stock, used media sold at a discounted price, and special promotions where you could win family vacations, electronics, and more. I think if you're a little younger than myself and you don't remember the hype of Blockbuster, you'll at least be familiar with their commercial ads that ran in the early 2000s featuring a hamster and rabbit known as Carl and Ray, who lived in a pet store adjacent to a Blockbuster. These ads were, interesting.
That's it, Carl! Shake what your mama gave ya!
Is that the voice of Jim Belushi? Oh god. You see, Blockbuster held its own honor system. You could rent out stuff for 3 days to a week, and all you had to do was make sure you brought it back on time. And to my knowledge, most people actually made sure to bring back the stuff that they rented. Because if you didn't bring back your videotapes, you'd suffer through late fees, and for a while, Blockbuster was making bank on late fees. So if you're not returning your DVDs, odds are you're probably a sociopath that promises he's going to bring back his tapes, but actually never does it. I see you, Paul. We would rent things like Sailor Moon, Powerpuff Girls, even Bump in the Night when it was no longer on air. My first viewing of Flubber was a rental, and I remember that same night my parents also got Big Mama's House, which they made sure to watch once I was sleeping. And I definitely remember renting games from Blockbuster. We got stuff like Digimon World 1, World 2, Donkey Kong Country 2, and this asshole over here. Blockbuster had some really good deals on games to give gamers more of an incentive to check out their store before heading to places like EB Games and GameStop. And once upon a time ago, Blockbuster actually had exclusive video game releases. Yeah, Blockbuster got so hot that companies were striking up deals with them just to have their games released there exclusively in stores. In all honesty, a lot of these received widespread retail releases shortly after being exclusive, but the idea of only being able to get a newly released game at Blockbuster before anyone else really made you feel like you were getting in on something special, and puts a lot more intrigue on these items, like, wow, nobody has this game yet, and I just happen to be that one lucky kid whose parents snagged an exclusive release. I must be the luckiest kid in the world! Some of these games included Clay Fighter Tournament Edition, The Ren and Stimpy Show Fire Dogs, Mr. Nuts, and Donkey Kong Country, the competition cartridge, made exclusively for Blockbuster's World Video Game Championships held in 1994. You know, an early spot to flex your skills against other seasoned gamers. All joking aside, I actually had a lot of really great memories renting stuff out from Blockbuster. It was a great way to try out as many games as you wanted without the restrictiveness of it being a demo. You could play as much as you wanted in the allotted time, and if you really liked it, you could straight up just buy it afterwards. I had so much fun playing Digimon World 1 over the weekend that I forgot it had to go back the Monday morning, so I remember waking up really sad thinking I misplaced the game. Yeah, I wasn't the brightest light bulb in the light fixture. Long story short, I liked it so much we ended up buying it, so it was a win-win for both me and Blockbuster. We would constantly rent out Donkey Kong Country 2 like every other Friday for a good while, and I distinctly remember playing Earthworm Jim and not being able to get past that goddamn junkyard dog with the dog pulling at my leg. Aside from gaming, Blockbuster was primarily a place where you could rent movies. And with the rise of streaming services like Netflix, it just couldn't keep afloat. I mean, nowadays, if you really think about it, there's just not that same demand for rental games. The only thing I can think of that's somewhat similar is that we now have services like PlayStation Plus where you have access to a package of free games that changes on a monthly basis. But it's not quite the same as renting, and you don't really have a vast selection. It's just whatever games become available on the network for that month. It's all you really have to choose from. So the concept is a little bit different. Video game rentals just aren't really a thing anymore. I mean, why rent it when you could just play a demo or play open beta and then buy the full game if you're really into it? With the rise of Let's Players and streamers, usually if a person is interested in a game, they're more likely to be persuaded by all of the above and all of the other people they see online raving about it. We didn't have easy access to stuff like that before. This is something devs have been paying attention to, which is why some games go out for open beta, early access, and are even made free to play before their worldwide release. They want us to try the game beforehand, give feedback, and possibly make the game better as a result. It's more advantageous to do that now than it ever was, especially since everyone has a voice online, especially fans. Why would I leave my home and rent a game when I could watch someone play it or review it, or play an early beta version over on Steam, then decide if I want to make that full purchase later? Nobody likes to leave the house anymore. That's why we have Dinner Dash and Uber Eats. Walking up to the store for candy bars on a Friday? Uber Eats that shit. We didn't have this luxury in the 90s. I mean, what if they ran out of a copy of Big Mama's House, huh? One time they ran out of Beetlejuice during Halloween, and with me being the movie kid at school, I was in charge of supplying the movies. Do you know how many Blockbusters we had to drive to that night looking for a copy of Beetlejuice? You want to live in a world where every single video store is out of Beetlejuice in October? Now you can just go to Put Locker. Oh, shit. While video rental stores are a fun remnant of the past, the digital age has made this practice not as practical as it once was. Today we're kind of in this age where we're just more reliant on digital media than we ever were in the decades prior. It's a blessing and at times a bit of a curse. But in the last few years, there's been a growing social awareness of the many ways social media in this digital age can be a detriment to our health if we're not careful. I mean, the Spice Girls are right, too much of a good thing can be pretty bad. The internet used to be a place to escape, and now we're slowly but surely shifting into seeing the fresh air as an escape from the internet. With more and more people nowadays putting away their phones, locking off of Twitter and Instagram for a few hours, and smelling that fresh air of the real world as an answer to our overconsumption of media, I wonder if we'll ever go back to the days of limited internet, where we walk to the pizza store instead of calling an Uber, and we go out into the light to buy physical copies of movies and games, reminding ourselves of that honor system that requires us to get off the couch or racer and return our videotapes. When that day finally comes, I'll be in my robot on the planet Mars, laughing at the cyclic nature of humanity. Goodbye, everyone. I'll see you next week.
Hey, Ray, look at this. Wall-to-wall entertainment. You want entertainment, Carl? I'll give you entertainment. Look, Carl, I'm a maniac! Maniac! No argument here. Let's see their entertainment do this.
Get more entertainment for less at Blockbuster. Right now, rent any 3 movies or any 2 games for only $9.99. It's a great deal on all the hottest movies and games.
That's it, Carl! Shake what your mama gave you!